How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the gray area. I am Brandon,
And I am Janelle.
and we're gonna discuss a few things today. I'm gonna let Janelle take the lead on this one to spare you guys my awkwardness. Go ahead and get us started, Janelle.
Well, hello, everyone. Today we're going to talk about how people that are dealing with mental health for years kind of have to kind of live a double life because it's such a taboo to talk about, right? Or you just don't want people knowing you're real, so you kind of live a double life for a little bit, and then I think people don't understand, or when you finally break, they're like surprised. And I'll use myself as an example. Um I've struggled with bipolar disorder, I don't know, for many years. I was diagnosed when I was younger, and it really came out after I had like my first daughter. Dealing with like postpartum depression was something different. And then mixed with bipolar disorder, OCD disorder. But, those were just things you just didn't talk about. And like my grandma was so old school that she would just be like, that's just, like when I knew there was like something really, really wrong, she would just say, oh, that's just you being spoiled, and, you know, you not knowing how to deal with things. And now, you're a mom, a wife, and I'm like, no, there's something really wrong. There's something not right. But, you know, I've always managed to stay polished. And, I was talking with my therapist today, and I was just telling her that, having this polished persona just so that no one knows what's really going on, you know,
It's
is
kind
what I've lived for a while.
it's kind of like I kind of have like my own take on that as well. I know when I was younger, I think I was always seeking acceptance. Um, Growing up, I always wanted that validation. I think um, to be included, and a lot of times I kind of look at it differently now, but I would always try to, I don't want to say pretend to be something I wasn't. I would see something or somebody that I thought was at the time cool or had a cool trait, and I would adapt it. Um, and over time, you see that more and more, and you adapt those traits. Now I know that that's just part of being who you are, kind of building you up as your own person, take bits and pieces from people you've learned from or certain things and kind of just applying it to yourself and making it your own. Um, but for a while growing up, I was try so hard to put on this front. Uh, I was a cool kid, you know. Um, but obviously, if you're going through some things, you got some things in the back of your head too that kind of poke at you, and it's really not healthy. I don't think it's not till recently. Um, I think through management, just being out in the world and learning how to lead and growing that in that aspect, you kind of learn to open up a little bit more. At least I did, and you learn that those vulnerabilities and the things that you try to hide from everybody else, uh, people respond to better. But yeah, for a while I just wanted to be the cool kid.
Well, I don't, so like, I don't think that I'm not being myself. Does my monitor turn off when,
The light goes on and off, but that's about it.
I don't know why it's doing that. It's never done that before. Hmm. I don't necessarily like. So I always manage to. I don't want people to think that I'm not being authentic in who I am, because the what you see is what you get. So I'm that person, like I'm being myself. However, what I'm not basically being open about is I'm not being vulnerable. Let me put it that way. I'm not being vulnerable. It's hard for me to be vulnerable. And I think it's because unfortunately people use it as ammunition.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like I was just talking to my therapist today. I was kind of telling her, like, if people really knew what was really going on in my head, they would kind of be like, whoa. But I've worked so hard to not show that um it ate me up. And so for so many years I always wanted to stay so polished and like flawless. And I mean flawless in the sense that I just, and it's crazy because like I was telling her today, like I could give two F's about what people have to say about me. Like I don't care what you think about me. Like I can care less. However, I don't ever want anyone to see an unpolished me. Does that make sense? Like I don't want you
Yeah.
to talk about an unpolished me. Like I don't
Absolutely.
care what you say. Like I don't care. Like I'm the type of person, you say it, it's a feeling, it'll go away. You know what I mean? And that's if you mean something to me. If you don't mean something to me, kind of just rolls off the shoulder, right? So, but I don't want anyone to see me unpolished, unhinged, because they don't forget that.
It's true.
And so, for instance, I'm going to give you an example. Due to me grieving, I saw, and me not giving myself the opportunity to grieve, I guess, um, I threw myself back into my work, right? And when I threw myself back into my work, um, I started noticing, um, while I was at work, at home, like I started noticing that I was starting to become unhinged. And so I felt myself spiraling, right? And so I didn't want anyone to see that. So I made a conscious decision. Although I was spiraling, I knew consciously enough to know that because I've worked so hard to maintain this persona, I guess, that I wasn't going to let anyone see me get unhinged. So I withdrew. And when I withdrew, I didn't give anyone the opportunity to see that, because if they saw that, um I don't think there was no coming back from it. You know what I'm saying? And in the sense that no coming back from it, because I was really going to give people something to talk about. They were going to just be like, who was that person? That's not the person we know. Well, if you only knew what was going on in my head or took the time to figure out what, like, hey, are you all right? So I knew enough to pull myself from the situation so that no one saw that. And so I feel like now that I've worked so hard to get where I'm at today, because even my therapist and I, we were talking, and she kind of said, the person I met, January is not the person that I see right now in June. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You were very emotional. You broke down a lot, and I couldn't let, professionally, I couldn't let anyone see me get there. But also personally, like in my own home, I didn't want anyone to see me get there either. If that makes any sense.
Absolutely.
Because
You're a born leader.
right. Oh, well, thank you. I don't want to give anyone room to use my emotional state as ammunition, because being an emotional being is so taboo.
Yeah.
So that's where I've been. And so, I learned that it's okay. Like, listen, I learned that I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and I don't care. I don't.
No, that makes me think back too when we used to work together. Um, you had this aura. You don't message it now. You know, like, and then, but you also had a very, and I always said this too. I always said you could, you could have a conversation with somebody, disciplinary wise, and they could be in tears, just feeling bad, but then they'll walk out of the office smiling. And I always thought that was amazing, like that you could have that serious heart to heart with me included, um, and still have them walking away. But that's because you dropped that guard down just a little bit. And I know there's a lot more to that, you kept internally. But there were times where I would see, that part come out, and there are people that take advantage of that. But I think there's also people that latch onto it, and that's how you got so many followers. People that wanted to follow you as you led, me included. Um, but yeah, I understand that being polished, being clean, being I can't even think of a good word for it. Uh, Put together. Because especially like I said, you're a born leader. So when you have that mentality, I feel like you want your team to be confident, and you feel like, for me, I feel like if I slip a little bit, or if I get a little angry or something, um, for me it's anger too. Like if I get hot, to me, I see it as I'm being weak, um, because I can't control my temper. So like for me, that was one of those things I really try to keep in check. And when people see you snap, or when they see you lose your cool, it, in the back of my head, I'm like, oh man, they just saw that weakness, that kink in that armor, and people will take advantage of that too.
Yeah, and it's hard to. I feel like it's hard to recover.
Yeah,
You know what I
it's
mean?
hard. It's hard to get that light put back on you in a certain way that you want it to be, or
Positively.
So me, I carry myself a certain way, um, for a reason. But that's kind of navigating through life too. I'm learning as I go as well, especially with this newfound view and look on life that I have recently. Um, but yeah, it's one of those things. Even to this day, I think I still put up some kind of. You want to maintain a brand, I guess. It's a good name for it. Like I have a brand. No pun intended.
Mm.
Brandon.
Well, remember I've said that to you, right? Like it's you are your brand. So,
Yeah.
you don't want to you have yeah, like I don't want to show, you know, any types of imperfections, you know what I mean? And I think that's why sometimes I become so passionate about things.
So
And I
what are some things that you've done, I guess, recently to try to work through that?
What do you mean as far as
Like letting go of that. I don't know if it holds you back or not. Just
so
that.
I get what you're saying. I'm so my therapist still sees that I'm still holding on to, but
Mhm.
I just had to learn to. So I agree with her. Like I'm not the same person. Like I can tell just in my overall on how I respond to certain things that I have grown. And that there's growth in how I respond to things because I used to be 0 to 100. Everyone knows that about me, right? I go 0 to 100. There was no in between. I was either flat or I'm animated. And so I've learned that, and I was just having a conversation about this, is that I I have taken a lot of pride on not reacting. Like, and I don't know if because I'm going through a grief process that life's too short and or it's okay to let your hair down and be messy sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I've learned, you know, that I'm living for myself. I've learned that everything I'm doing for me, and I'm not doing for anybody else. I'm doing all of this for myself. And so, it's been a journey. I can tell you this much. I do a lot of breathing exercises. Like a lot of breathing exercises I do. And
You know,
it helps me.
what's what's funny is before I started this carnivore diet, when I was in a really bad depression and all that anxiety, I used to hate breathing. It used to piss me off even more. Like if I got mad, I tried to breathe. This is stupid. Um, but recently, I've actually been doing that. I'll step away, especially if situations start getting a little stressful, or whether it be sad or when actually there's a story too, kind of about that happened today. I'll walk away for a minute and kind of just, I'm good. But I guess in the sense of talking about not really vulnerabilities, but so lately I've been doing a lot of things that are outside my comfort zone. Podcasting, uh, playing music, singing. I've never done that before. So kind of stepping out of that comfort zone is really scary. And Celise, one of my coworkers, her daughter follows me on TikTok, and I'd posted a video with me singing that I've never done before. I sang for my mom once, uh, and she had said, Celise told me that her daughter said that inspired her to want to start posting more on TikTok and doing her singing thing because she does a little karaoke in her bedroom. And I had to walk away for a minute because I was like, "You're gonna make me tear up." Because for me, there's nothing better than inspiring somebody else to do something that they're afraid to do.
And I
Inspiring
think
someone
that's
else
what
to
that's why we're here, is to
inspire. Yeah,
inspire people
yep.
and to become relatable to people.
To break through
And I
that.
and I think that's why a lot of people, like, I have real raw conversations, and I'm not afraid to have real
Mm-hmm.
raw conversations. If you ask me a question, I'm going to answer it. I'm not going to lie about it, right? And so I'm very relatable. I've been through so much in life,
Mm-hmm.
um that I'm just very relatable, and I like people to understand, and I think that's why I've gotten the respect that I've gotten from um friends, people that I've worked for me, co-workers, is because I'm just very relatable.
Yeah,
And
because you don't hide what your background's from. You don't
no,
hide the fact that you're from the Bronx. And people see that. People know that you came from very little, and you made it to a position to where you're strong, confident, independent, and you get it done. And that's inspiring in itself. Inspired me, you know.
listen,
So
people don't know that, like, people don't know, I've lost a lot behind other people. And so, people don't know that. People just know what I refuse to defend. I'm not going to, because I know the real, I know the truth. So I'm not going to sit here and defend something that is not true. You know what I mean? Ask me,
yeah,
did this happen? I'm either going to say yes or no. Did that happen? I'm going to say yes or no. But I'm not, I don't, there's no need for me to elaborate. Oh, this was what I heard. That's not true. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Or that's true. I don't have a problem saying that. But I've come from like, I've come I was raised by my grandmother and my mom, and you know, and I was raised by my grandmother because my mom worked. You know what I mean? But doesn't mean that, my mom didn't love me or whatever. I loved being with my grandmother. You know what I mean? And um but I do, like, how they say history repeats itself. I My mom was in a situation where my grandmother helped her, and then I got in a situation where my mom had to help me. You know what I mean? And so I do harbor a lot of anger towards my ex-husband. And like, we can, on a later podcast, talk about that, like how people have. But my ex-husband was a huge factor into what brought out a lot of my um episodes. You know what I mean? A lot of me, regressing is had a lot to do with a lot of things that he did. And then, because of his actions, I had a lot of guilt in my life. And so, you know, but again, people form their own opinion, and I let them believe whatever it is that they want to believe. I know the truth. As long as I knew the truth, my children knew the truth, my mom knows the truth. Nothing else mattered to me. What people say, what they say. The problem is they believe it because I don't give them the time of day to defend stupidity. I'll walk away from a family member very quickly for my sanity. If you are not safe for me, you're just not safe for me. And I will say it over and over again. If a person isn't safe for me, I just don't mess with you, and I'm not going
yeah.
to. My
It's
my my me being sane is a lot more important.
my mom told me once that she envied how, and she meant it in a complimentary way. She said she envied how I can just drop people all the time and just cut all ties. But that's with people like in my life that were in a bad direction. Like before I met my wife, when I was 23, 22, I was doing a bunch of stupid stuff and with a bunch of stupid people that were going nowhere in life. And I was able to cut everybody off like just completely. And I met Brittany and I was able to start a new chapter in my life, kind of like I'm trying to do now, except with the mental health aspect of it. But that always stuck with me. How she said that. I envy how you can just drop people on time. Well, if someone's not good for you, they're not good for you. I don't need that in my life, especially with all the crap that I got going on in my head. I don't need, you know, I overanalyze stuff enough. I don't need to be worrying and looking behind my shoulder. So,
and
but
it's
then
crazy because like you changing your diet has helped you with your mental
that's
your
crazy.
mental
It still blows my mind. I was talking to my mom today. It's incredible, like just how something so. If I would have known this, 10 years ago, even I don't know. But that's one of the things too. I want to. And I was talking to another, uh, my wife's sister's husband, and he has PTSD really badly from the army, and like if we're in big crowds, he gets real weird. He's got to walk away, and I was the same way. So we went to a graduation, her little sister's graduation, and it was flooded. It was a convention center, so there was people everywhere, like shoulder to shoulder. Normally, I would have freaked out. I would have had to get out of there. I would have gotten hot, but in that moment, I was cool, and it was weird. It's a weird feeling. Even her father said something, and he doesn't really know much about the diet that I'm on. He saw that I was leading because her stepmother's in a wheelchair. So they were having trouble getting through the crowd. I actually stepped in front and started clearing the crowd. I would have never done that. And it's just the weirdest thing. So I talked to him about the carnivore diet, and I told him it's like, I don't try to push it on anybody, but I will talk my piece and I'll suggest that, if you're interested, look into it, do your research. It might be something for you. It might not. But I tell people, give it 3 days. Try it for 3 days. It ain't no different than fasting. And see if your mental doesn't clear up a little bit. By the third day, that's when I was like, holy cow. This is okay. I can do this. To eat steak all day. Okay. But it's it's just crazy how
I
much
can't
food.
eat that much meat all day. Ugh.
I mean, you don't think so until you try it though. Because I thought the same thing. And at first I tried to have that, that bro mentality. Just gonna eat ribeyes all day long. But then you start learning about it, you start having questions, start Googling, you start getting connected with social media. And that's how I found it. And my journey thus far has been through watching YouTube videos of certain creators. Um, and once I figure out how to put links in these videos in the descriptions, I'll start putting links for some of these inspirational creators that help push me through the way, or you, um, through all different avenues, whether it be like dieting or just talking mental health or whatever. I think it's important to discover these things and get different perspectives because that's a huge part too. I'll look through 5, 6, 10, 12 different creators, uh, or even just content on the internet, just to get different perspectives so I can form my own perspective. But I forgot where I was going with this. But yeah. Oh, I tried to push it on anybody. I tried to push a diet on anybody. I just tried to give him the facts. And he had actually told me, he looked at me, he's like, I appreciate that. I was like, hey, if you ever need it, you need some info, or you need a buddy, I'm here.
Yeah, and then it's crazy because and this is what we're here for because you are doing the carnivore diet for your mental health. I'm fasting and I'm doing therapy. And So we both are in two different directions, but getting the same results.
Right. Yeah. Two different perspectives. But we've always been
And
like that,
so,
though.
right, and that's what, and that's why we're here. We're here to, let people know, like, one, you're not alone. Um, um, everyone deals with some type of trauma in their life.
Yeah.
Everybody. Um, and we just want to let people know that, it's more common than a lot of people think.
Right. Let's talk
It's
about it.
it's just, let's talk about it. Let's
Yeah.
talk about it. You know what I mean? And be real. And I think that's where people are gonna get the content about us, is that we're just gonna be real and raw about what we're going through. You
Right.
know, you know, and see how, you know, it's okay. Listen, it's okay in your recovery, um, that you're gonna fall and you're gonna have moments, especially when you're dealing with, emotions in your mental space. You're gonna have moments where you crash, and it's okay. And I think that's what a lot of people that are dealing with some type of mental um disorder or some type of mental break, is that it's okay to crash and regress and, you know go on a roller coaster. That's, unfortunately, it's going to happen because we're dealing with emotions. We're not always going to have it together. It's how you learn to deal with it, and how you learn to, oh, I guess, shoot, I lost the train, not the train of thought, but lost the word that I'm trying to, it's how you portray yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, you know, if you act like a cuckoo bird, people are going to treat you like a cuckoo bird. And oh my God, maybe I shouldn't say that. Is that a politically correct term?
I think it's okay. I know it's.
Well, I don't want to offend anyone. Don't come for me, y'all. But, um, but it's just, if you're gonna act crazy, people are gonna treat you crazy. If you're gonna
Yeah.
act mad, people are gonna treat you mad. You know what I mean? If you're gonna act disrespectfully, people are gonna treat you disrespectfully.
And
So
that ties right back into putting on that front and being polished.
yeah, and so, you know, I don't want people to think that it's not okay to have an episode, because I will continue to have them. And I think I had to learn that in therapy, that it's okay. So,
Right.
like, I would hide it, that I had a breakdown, and she would be like, "Why are you afraid to say it?" Because I was so afraid that she would say, "Well, like, why are you in therapy? Like, I guess you don't want to help yourself." And it's not that. It's okay. You're dealing with emotions. So I'm okay now with all of that. Like, I really
Right.
100% am okay with all of that.
Yeah, I kind of realized that too. Like, how are you going to learn how to fight through it if you don't have the fight to fight?
And
You
I
know?
have the fight.
Uh,
I've been through heck and back,
that you had.
and I will continue to fight. And so, I think that's the message. And I don't want to speak for Brandon, but I think that that's the message that we are putting out there, is,
Yeah.
you know, that it's okay to fall, and we're going to help catch you and help lift you.
Wow.
And, you know, we're here to tell our story, and so that it may help the next person.
Right. And one day it would be cool if, we grow and do something different. I've never seen it before, but have like live and just have other, guests come on random, sometimes,
Yeah, that's
and
what I
just
want.
talk about.
That's where I want to go with it. Like, have random people that are dealing with emotion, like dealing with the same shit we're going through,
Yeah.
and just talk about it, and just let people know that they're not alone. And
Hmm.
I want to put the message out there that we're in 2024, right? And we need this world really needs to stop being bullies.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay, like, stop judging people on their mental state. That's why
Yeah.
that's why we have so many um suicides and things like that. And you know um you know in this world,
That could
because
be
people are huge bullies.
that's good. That could be a great subject for another video too, because I can
Yeah,
think of a bunch of things that tie into that, especially in 2024.
yeah. And it's 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 too it's too late in the game for that. Like, stop it. And
Yeah.
so, I want people to understand that, I've experienced bullying, believe it or not. And it's I've experienced bullying in the workplace.
Hmm.
And that's scary when you experience bullying in the workplace. And so we will talk about that. That's probably our next topic,
Yeah.
bullying in the workplace. But I was bullied. And
Yeah.
so, um, in 2024, we want to let people know that it's come on out, tell your story, and it's okay. It's quite okay. And don't hide that. And also, just to put out there, if you or anyone um have any thoughts of harming yourselves or harming others, dial 988 hotline, the crisis hotline, 988. And someone will be on that other end to respond.
Yeah.
So
Pick up the phone.
yeah.
Um,
And if or if you don't have anyone that you trust, dial 988, the 988 crisis suicide hotline, for anyone. And so I want to put that message out there. And believe me, that hotline has saved me.
all right. So I guess that'll wrap it up for this session. Um, like Janelle always likes to say, hit the subscribe and like button, right?
Like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Press that little bell, and it'll notify you when when we post a video. Like and subscribe. Help us grow our channel, y'all.
All right. Peace out, guys.